Fantasy Film Fest time again. This time we're doing White Nights. And by doing this festival, we will have done a complete year of Fantasy Film Fest coverage. Pretty crazy. I still can't believe we've been around for almost a year now. I am once again very late, and we got some spectacular movies coming today. Which would be, we're starting the day off with The Lodgers, continuing with the French Les Affamés, then doing A Beautiful Day, then I finally get to see The Shape of Water. We end the day off with Cold Skin. Tomorrow shit goes down with Let the Corpses Stain, followed by The Little Hours with Dave Franco and a bunch of pot-smoking nuns, The Endless, Ghost Stories, and Hostile. It's gonna be a long, heavy-ass weekend, and it's gonna be fucking fun as hell. And, you know me, I'm late as fuck, so let's go. Give me a moment. Hello and welcome to the Movie Void, where we review whatever the fuck we want to review. And I need to get going if we want to review something today at all. Whew. 40 minutes till the next movie starts. I need 20 minutes to get there, and I still need to pick up my ticket, so let's go! Eesh! Oh, my coffee. So today is the first time in, let's say, years, decades actually, that the Fantasy Film Fest is taking place in another cinema. We're usually at the Metropolis Cinemas, and today we are at the Harmony Cinema. So we will have a different setting in the background during our reviews than in our previous Fantasy Film Fest specials. So be looking forward to a new change of looks. So here we are, this is the new place. Let's get the shindig going. Still gonna pick up my VIP ticket.
Wie es schon im INSTA war, haben wir gesagt, freie Platzwahl, aber
Yes, we know it's incest, still it's what our family does.
You are leaving me to die, aren't you? You are leaving me to die! Oh! So, the first film of the festival was The Lodgers. It is a film directed by Brian O'Malley, who has also brought us Let Us Pray. We have Charlotte Vega and Bill Milner in the lead roles, playing twin siblings, and they are living in this big, old, gigantic house. And there seems to have been put a curse on their family by some kind of a spiritual being that doesn't let them leave their bedrooms after midnight, that doesn't let them let any strangers into the house, and so on and so on. There are a couple of more rules in this film, and generally. The good thing about this film is that it is beautifully shot. It looks incredibly eerie. It looks incredibly creepy. But that is also where the good things about this film stop entirely. Because the only good thing about this is the cinematography. You totally notice that they were trying to reach this old creepy ghost movie feeling, like as in The Witch, but it somehow fails because the dialogue is pretty much laughable and the acting doesn't really seem to do the job right at all whatsoever. Its pacing is incredibly slow, and just when you think that something is going to happen, like when the creepy moment sets in and when you're thinking that it is just going to get all gruesome and badass finally, it just starts getting dull and very boring. You have a lot of shots of people just staring into mirrors, people sitting on benches, people sitting in their bedroom. There's some pretty shots of water rising from the floor to the ceiling, but always and constantly. You don't really get to see much of the spiritual, paranormal world at all. It pretty much keeps repeating itself over and over and over again, which is very disappointing because they focus a lot on the relationship between the two siblings, but not really on anything that really happens at all in the film itself. The problems between the two siblings start progressing when Rachel, the girl, falls in love with this veteran who just came back from the war, who is following her around the forest of the house where she lives, and they somehow start getting this eerie romantic feeling, leaving the brother somewhat to his own devices. And I don't know, this could have been so much better, but all in all, it just like felt really, really dull and really, really long, and just the acting especially and the dialogue didn't cut it, and that's why I was a little bit disappointed by The Lodgers. But generally, it had a good idea behind it. The will and the intention was good where the movie was supposed to go, but sadly it didn't get there.
Welcome to Zombieland.
Les Affamés is a French-Canadian film directed by Robin Aubert. And once again, we have the zombie apocalypse. And you know what we say to the zombie apocalypse? Oh, hi, zombie apocalypse. I didn't know it was you.
Oh, hey, Johnny, what's up?
And I'm very impressed how long the zombie apocalypse genre has been holding up ever since zombies blew up 10 years ago, like around the time The Walking Dead premiered. This genre does not seem to end. And my problem with the Les Affamés is generally that it is a film that you have seen many times before. If you've seen one of these movies, you've pretty much seen them all. It really doesn't add anything new to the table. But once you get to the details of this film, once you explore the characters and once you explore the general situation of this movie, it isn't bad at all. Like, as a standalone movie as itself, it is actually pretty alright. But if for somebody who has seen many, many zombie movies, especially over the last 10 to 15 years, it's a little disappointing. Ooh. And we have some background music suddenly now coming out from one of the cars. I'm enjoying that. But all in all, like what this movie does well is it shows its characters very well. There is not a lot of dialogue in this film, but with the little dialogue it has, you totally know which person is. Who is more daring, who is more scared and shy, who is more paranoid, who is more the funny type. And the movie generally has that claustrophobic, creepy feeling constantly going on that we know through the typical zombie apocalypse film, but it also doesn't shy away from some comedic moments. It really puts the comedic relief very well into the film. It just spices it exactly into the right proportions. It works a lot with contrasts, especially the way it is shot and the way the tone of the film is set. Some very incredibly loud scenes are followed by incredibly silent scenes. Some very sunny scenes are followed by incredibly foggy scenes. You have these contrasts sometimes even in the middle of certain scenes, like right away. Like, it plays with that very well. What I really liked about the way this movie was done, where I think Robin Aubert put a lot of thought into, is that he does not focus on things your regular director would be focusing on. For example, in a zombie attack scene, a regular filmmaker would probably just focus on the zombie that is attacking the person. But instead, Robin Aubert, he focuses on the person who is being attacked by the zombie, the way the person reacts. And I like that a lot because it puts the whole entire thing into a new perspective. He doesn't take the thing that is the focus of the scene and puts the camera on that, but he rather puts the camera on the things surrounding the object that is in the focus of the scene and chooses to show everybody how the surroundings and the person and the people around the focus of the scene are reacting to it. For example, you see somebody fighting a zombie with a machete, but he doesn't choose to focus on the zombie, but rather than on the person who is hitting the zombie with the machete. And you don't really see the zombie at all. Whereas another director would just totally focus on the zombie. The cinematography is here generally incredibly nice. The character development is also incredibly nice. It is just nothing new. And this is like your classical little zombie film. It follows just 3 individuals, a man, a woman, and a little girl going through this broken world. One thing that is funny about the zombies in this movie is that these zombies, they sit around a pile of junk. And some of these zombies, they carry things into this pile of junk. And it sort of reminded me of that South Park episode, A Ladder to Heaven.
The nation is rallying behind 3 sweet boys in Colorado who are building a ladder to heaven.
So this is like pretty much the zombies in this film are building a ladder to heaven, as in the South Park episode. And this generally is an alright movie. It really is alright, but it is nothing special. And standalone, it is totally great. But as a zombie movie, it's nothing new. It's really just same old, the same stuff we've been seeing for a decade and a half. And I wish this movie had been made like 10 years ago or 8 years ago. Then I would have loved this. Then this might have been one of my favorite films of all time even. But now in 2018, it just feels a little washed up and dry. But if you're into this kind of thing, you're going to have a good time with this because it is a classic genre zombie apocalypse film, and if you like that, you shouldn't miss this.
And now we're left with a hair-lipped reminder of what might have been.
You Were Never Really Here, also known as A Beautiful Day, is a film directed by Lyanne Ramsay. And Lyanne Ramsay's last film was We Should Talk About Kevin, which was received very well. And this is her first film after We Need to Talk About Kevin, and that was like 5 years. It took 5 years for this to happen. And I think this was very worth the wait. The tone of this movie is completely different than We Need to Talk About Kevin. We have in the lead role Joaquin Phoenix playing Joe, a hired killer. And he has a certain job he has to do. On the other side, he also takes care of his elderly mother. And something goes really horribly wrong at this job that also involves a lot of kidnapped underage girls, some kind of a sex ring. Something goes terribly wrong, and Joaquin Phoenix, he gets very caught up in this case, more than he was prepared to get caught up in here, and it really like takes over his entire life and in his entire mind. It's not a regular job anymore, and the whole entire film is told with a lot of very strange editing choices. The editing here is very scattered. It's not really like how you'd expect it from a normal movie. It's so bizarre. You don't really know what happened in the past. You don't really know what happened in the future. It is edited in such a confusing way that the viewer has to piece it all together himself. And when it works perfectly, and sometimes it leaves you totally baffled. But I think this was the intention here. This was supposed to create this mess. We are supposed to feel what this character Joe is feeling. And I think the editing really does that totally well. The whole entire tone of this movie is somewhat Taxi Driver meets David Lynch. And that's pretty much how I describe it. Like, This classical 80s killer movie with this totally surreal, absolutely awkward, absurd elements scattered through the entire movie. And really, the whole entire film centers around this character Joe, played by Joaquin Phoenix. And Joaquin Phoenix is amazing here. I really love his acting in this movie. Without him, this movie wouldn't have turned out as good as it actually turned out. Even the way he looks, even the way how he is done with everything. You really feel how much hell this guy has been through. This movie constantly also adds like little flashbacks of his past life, what was going on there. You notice that he was abused as a child, but you don't get to see any details. This movie is really a film that allows the audience to piece things together themselves. Everyone who sees this will have their very own interpretation of this, and I think if this was what they were going for, I think they really succeeded in this. The ending is a little weird and it is left sort of open, but I don't think any other ending would have fit this movie better. This is so far my favorite film of the festival, I have to say. We've seen 3 so far. If you are into a really gritty, dark story told in a confusing way with terribly good acting and a lot of contrast, you should really check this out. This was really nice. You guys have to check out the hype for the Shape of Water. The whole world's in the queue. I'm just exiting the other film. So this is Germany's first screening of the Shape of Water. The whole world is waiting. I have heard so much about this. My expectations are so soaring high. It's like I'm probably not going to have any choice but be disappointed. It is getting full as hell. Maybe the most sold out flick we're watching this festival. Fun fact for you guys. The German translation of The Shape of Water is das Flüstern des Wassers, which means the whispering of the water. The whispering of the water. Maybe the most ridiculous thing I've heard in a while. The water is telling you something.
Kill the president.
What?
Hello, you're the most beautiful thing I've seen. So come here, do you want to go dancing with me?
I finally managed to see The Shape of Water. I'm not going to go into too many details about the plot because this movie has been out for quite a while now and you've probably seen some other reviewers talk about the plot in general. But the thing is, yes, this movie is about a cleaning lady who falls in love with somewhat of a sea creature. And as ridiculous as that might sound, this movie actually manages to make this whole entire premise of the story not be ridiculous whatsoever. And I would actually say this is Guillermo del Toro's best film since Pan's Labyrinth, and I think this is actually even better than Pan's Labyrinth. The pacing in this movie is nearly perfect. It just gets maybe a little slow towards the end, but I think that's a question of taste. It is incredibly well constructed. It uses a lot of time to establish its characters, and it is very necessary to establish them, because it doesn't even do that in a boring way at all. Every single second of this movie makes perfect sense to convey in what it is trying to tell you. The acting is also pretty much flawless. This movie could be actually considered as a fairy tale for adults. And what else I have to add is that it somehow walks this very fine line between the 1930s film Freaks, Amelie, and E.T. actually. And it is a very, very unique combination of genres and films, which really makes this movie a standout piece. Like, the whole entire theater was amazed by this. This was the first time during the Fantasy Film Fest that I cried at a film since Hesher back in 2011. I can't really say anything much more to this than how wonderful and beautiful the story is written. The dialogue is done really well. The performances by everyone are perfect. This is Guillermo del Toro at the peak of his career. In the moment of his career, Tim Burton was back in the early 90s, somewhere between Edward Scissorhands and Ed Wood. And this is just marvelous. And I think this deserves every award it is nominated for. I loved this movie. You guys should check it out yourself. It is wonderful.
Thoughts before I watch the new film by Xavier. He has made two of my favorite films, Frontiers and The Divide. I especially loved The Divide. And the other ones were sort of a mixed bag. I'm really hoping Cold Skin is going to be really good.
Just watched Cold Skin, and fuck, that sucked. I'm gonna get a little wasted, and then we're gonna talk about it. By the way, we are at my favorite bar in my hometown at the moment. Cheers.
Ich hab noch keinen Mock zu gehen, ich bleib ein bisschen länger.
They're playing my shit. No, this is literally me. Okay, don't know my own lyrics. Yeah, I do German music, too. Okay, this is so funny because while we were watching A Day to Remember tonight, there was this radio thing going on where they said, and now, Bon Jovi, Living on a Prayer. Cut, next scene. And we're in this bar and they're playing and Living on a Prayer right now. Hear it? Oh, we gotta hold on, ready or not. You live for the fight when that's all that you got. We're halfway there, whoa. We're living on a prayer.
Mermaid, 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 mermaid.
Jesus fucking Christ, I'm drunk. Well, anyway, let's start this review a little bit. Anyway, Jon Snow and Luke Skywalker from episode 7, they're living in this lighthouse, and there's these avatar-like creatures showing up out of nowhere. Like, poof, there they are. And they start this war with these avatar-like creatures. They like kill the shit out of them, but they make one of those avatar creatures be their pet. And it's weird. I felt so disturbed by the whole entire situation because those avatar creatures, they make the same face that my ex-girlfriend always made. Like this type of face, and it's just weird. They kill all these avatar-like creatures, and it's just stupid. You don't really understand the point the movie is trying to make.
I mean, Xavier Jean, if you're watching this, seriously, like, I love your movies. What were you thinking? It drags itself on because they need ammunition to defend themselves from the Avatar creatures. The effects are actually pretty good, even though when a lot is going on, you totally see that it's CGI and looks like a fucking video game. I didn't like it. I loved Frontiers, and I loved The Divide. The Divide is actually one of my favorite movies from a French director ever. But this didn't really get me. It's shot well, that's for sure, but the pacing is terrible. The pacing is like completely off. The characters, they're not really likable at all. Like, I don't like a single character in this film. They just annoyed the shit out of me. And it somehow just felt so forced. It's like somebody was trying to make a horror movie version of Avatar and didn't make it. And I got totally disappointed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Xavier. Or Xavier. Or Xavier Jean. I love your films usually, but this one sucked ass. This one really sucked total balls. I didn't like it at all. It also was way too long. Like, I would have at least shortened it to 15 minutes less. Like, this movie is like 1 hour and 45 minutes long. There's just 15 minutes too much. The acting is way too pretentious. Really, the problem is the characters here aren't likable. And I know you're trying to put some character development in this, but through the narration, this movie has a lot of narration, by the way. It just feels so overdone. It gets annoying after a point. I didn't like it. I'm sorry, dude. I love your films, but this one wasn't good. Okay, guys. I am so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. Look at oh, it's episode 1. Oh, look what time it is, people. It's fucking 6 a.m. in the morning. And the next movie starts in 7 hours and 15 minutes. I gotta go to bed. Yeah. Well, we got pretty wasted. It was fun. My favorite movie is definitely The Shape of Water. Was like a little cinematic miracle, I have to say. I loved that movie. I really liked A Beautiful Day or I Was Never There. I don't know why that movie has 2 titles. The zombie movie was mediocre, and I don't even want to talk about the other 2. Like, fuck those. Every minute I'm wasting talking about those movies when I could be sleeping or something like that. So I'm fit for the movies tomorrow is wasted. So I'm gonna say goodnight. And I don't think you've ever seen me. No, yeah, you guys have seen me way more wasted than this. So, okay, good night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, shit. I slept in and missed the first movie. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do Let the Corpses Tame some other day. I am just still so exhausted from writing my bachelor thesis and everything. I'm glad we're making this festival at all, but today we still got a very fun day. And that will be starting with the Little Hours with Dave Franco and a bunch of pot-smoking nuns. So I'm looking forward to everything, and I feel really bad for missing the first movie, but I will definitely watch it at some other point in time, and I'll give it a quickie review as soon as it comes out anywhere. But now I gotta get going. Damn, we shouldn't have gotten that wasted yesterday. Or maybe we should have. It was a real fun night. Well, it'll be a fun day.
Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
You're burning the mic.
Ist nicht passiert.
Giant thumb in a turtleneck. Whoop-de-doo!
This is my friend Fedor here.
Hi. Very nice to see you.
We just saw The Little Hours. It is a film by Jeff Bina, starring Alison Brie, Dave Franco, and Audrey Plaza, and a couple of other great people, like some of the cast from Making History, I think, is also along in this. Jeff Bina has brought us Life After Beth before, which was also a funny movie, even though I think this one is much funnier than Life After Beth ever even was. The plot...
It also had Nick Offerman, who's like on... You know, Parks and Rec with Aubrey Plaza.
Oh yeah, exactly. And what like the movie, the fun thing about it, you can't really say it's a central plot because it's not really about a specific plot. You have all these characters living in this convent and trying to live this holy life, but not really, it doesn't really work out for any of them because they all have their human nature and human urges, and things start happening. A lot of sins are committed, and it is hilarious. I've heard a lot of people say that this movie is generally very disrespectful towards religion, but
that's a good thing.
That's blasphemous. Who wants to see that?
It is. It would be a good thing if it was, but it's not really. The thing is that it pokes fun at religion itself. It actually pokes fun at the people, at religious people in this situation. There is nothing funnier in this world than somebody who is religious put into these totally unholy situations. It is like a joke that never really gets old. Another thing is this movie felt more like the pilot of a TV show because it left a lot of plots and subplots open. Like you could totally see
6 seasons and a movie!
Yeah, I could see it running on a weekly basis, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Like this isn't a movie like that leaves you with an end. It's more like you get these characters and you get many funny situations, and that is pretty much what you get here. This isn't like now some Oscar-worthy thing. This is a bag of fun, and it is incredible. And I think this is the best role Dave Franco was placed in. Like I never saw Dave Franco fit a role so well. What did you think about Dave Franco, Fedor?
Well, I've seen only one other thing where he was in, but he was good. He played it well. He was a good mute and deaf for a while, and yeah, he was attractive. All the girls seemed to get on with him, and it's a love story. I told you it's a love story. It's all about, you know, love will find a way.
It is in some ways a love story.
You know, against all adversity.
And it's also pro-donkey, this movie. It's for fans of people who like donkeys. And especially the term donkey duty is something I firmly enjoyed because it...
Big thing in the movie.
Yeah, donkey duty is a big thing in this movie. Like, really check it out. This is hilarious. This might just be... This is definitely the funniest film I've seen this year, and maybe the funniest film since The Disaster Artist I've seen, I have to say. This was really great. Like, I want to see more of this. If anyone part of this is watching this, I want this to be a TV show on Netflix. I want this to happen.
Make it
happen. Watch out for the fappening. There's a lot of things to fap about here in this film. Look at Fedor.
Even though it was kind of easy on the nudity, like it wasn't a European movie, you could see it. There was a lot of opportunity, but I get it, you know, PG, whatever.
Yeah. We're out.
Bling bling, bitch, do my own thing, bitch. Fuck a wedding, bring that ding-a-ling. Was just a fling, bitch.
This is mad. You have something
Bring that ding-a-ling was just a fling, bitch.
We have to go back!
So Fedor decided to stay for a couple of more movies, and we just saw The Endless, which is directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who also star in the leading roles. They have also brought us this film called Spring, which was also a huge mindfuck, but I think this one even surpassed the normal mindfuckness we're used to. It's about this these two brothers.
They go to revisit their past.
Yeah,
they want to reconnect to where they once were, and they come back to find something that they didn't really know was there, but has always been there. That's not a spoiler.
That's a very good sum up of the version. I'll put some more detail into the situation. So these two brothers, they were pulled out of the burning car where their mother was in, who died, and they were pulled out of a car by a cult member, and they had been living in this cult for a couple of years, and one day one of the brothers receives a videotape from the past.
Not any cult, a UFO suicide cult, like heavy
shit. And they decide to revisit that place where they were. And things get really weird, like
so
really
weird. So weird.
There's an entity, they call it.
It's yeah. Like if you've seen Lost, there's like a lost monster. Like it has a few traits of that.
Yeah, it has a few traits of that. There's also, it works a lot with something we call a time loop.
Okay, campers, rise and shine. And don't forget your booties, because it's cold out there today.
But I don't want to spoil too much. I can't explain that much. The thing is, the pacing is very slow though, but it doesn't, you don't mind it because it like slowly sets you up with what you're dealing with. It like really, this movie builds up its own world. It lets like the audience relive the exact experience our two main characters are having. Like,
and it's very much about them, right? Because they come together. It's a lot about them and their relationship and how it plays out in this new situation. So that's you know, that never leaves the center stage. It's always about them too, even though the world around them goes a bit sideways.
What I also liked about it is that the look of the movie. It had that 70s, 60s grainy, sunny day feel. It was a very bright movie outside of the night shots, and you felt like you were in this hippie world all
definitely.
the time. Yeah, and you have the vibe of a cult movie totally written all over it. Not satanic cult movie, but UFO suicide cult.
Also because it was so peaceful on the surface, you didn't really overtly understand what was happening all the time.
And then it goes full-blown crazy in the end. The creepiness and the weirdness just like sets in slowly in the beginning and keeps getting louder and louder and louder till it explodes. Like, if you're in for some weird Lynchian shit, check it out. The Endless is really cool.
Definitely cool. Maybe even worth a rewatch.
Yeah, definitely.
The second time, you'll probably get a lot of stuff you missed the first time.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think that's what.
Go see Endless.
Go see the Endless. Yeah.
So, we just saw the movie Ghost Stories.
And we were disappointed, sadly. Well, Ghost Stories, not to be confused with Ghost Story, that other better film that I have yet to see. But Ghost Story is directed by Jeremy Dyson and what's the other bloke's fellow? Andy Nyman. And this was originally a theater production and worked really well in the theater, and I can see that happening, but the execution as a film wasn't really working at all. I enjoyed the premise, that's for sure. Like, the beginning I found very solid, didn't you think?
Yeah, I thought let me actually think back to the beginning. Yeah, the beginning was good because it all had like a mystery feel. I got the feeling I'm about to take a trip down Miss Marple Lane and, you know, experience some hardcore sci-fi stuff, but you know.
You have like your main character who is somebody who debunks ghost stories and paranormal activity stories, and he gets a challenge by this old man.
His idol, who's actually lost. He's been long lost, but he finds him.
And he has been doing this all his life, that guy. And he gives our main character the mission to debunk 3 stories he has found no explanation to. And it really sets up the tone of the film. You really get in the mood. You really
because you ask yourself, is he gonna make it? Is he gonna convince his mentor? Is it all possible?
What kind of stories are these going to be? Are they going to be scary as fuck? Are they going to be something
What are we dealing with?
Yeah, is it going to be some kind of an X-Files level thing that is you have yet to prove, but you can't really prove it all. Like you're expecting some really freaky paranormal shit. And what you get is 3 incredibly typical stories.
Well, it was fairly spooky. I was a bit spooked.
I wasn't spooked at all.
I'm weak.
There were just so many jump scares. It hurt. You were spooked by the jump scares.
Yeah, that always keeps me on edge.
Yeah.
But there's no real substance to those kind of things.
Fedor got spooked by the just bad CGI. The thing is, I can slowly see this working as a play because typical stories need good executions. Things that you've seen before. Like, it's one of the stories, boy hits strange creature on the road. Husband is haunted by his wife. And things like that. It's just like these general stories you've heard many times before, but the execution is just so poor and sloppy. And what they do achieve, I found that some humor was very witty.
Yeah, the humor was good. There was like a lot of good lines. It was really funny. I thought also the people, they had a very kind of distinct, how should I say, the characters, distinct personalities. There was like the banker lawyer guy, he was quite good, he brought that across well. The young insecure bro, and also the night guardian, he was my personal favorite.
The dialogue was very witty actually, but when it came to the scares, when it came to the actual ghost stories that you were wanting to see in a horror movie, it was just one cliche after the other.
It just seemed too disjointed. I kind of missed the connection, a red line that kind of went throughout it all. And obviously the movie tries to kind of accomplish that, but
it could have worked with a bit more effort. It really could have, but it didn't. It didn't at all. I'm sorry, because there was potential here, and like if anybody of the crew here is watching, don't think we're trashing your movie because it sucked fucking balls and we hate it. No, it wasn't.
No, I like the production. Like, it's cool that they make a British movie and everything in that kind of setting. They had great scenery. The place where the asphalt pathway was broken off into the shoreline or into the beach. That was really nice.
The eye candy's there. Like, there's a lot of potential and a lot of room for improvement. But if you guys are gonna make a scary story, make a scary story. Oh, and I'm going to just like spoilers, because I hate it when people do that. So I'm doing the spoiler in 3, 2, 1. So 3, 2, 1.
In the words of Biggie,
it was all a dream.
So this ends another wonderful round of movies at the Fantasy Film Fest. I didn't make it to see 2 films. One of them was Let the Corpses Tan, and the other one was Hostile. Those are 2 films I will definitely review at a later point when they are properly released. And the White Knights were a little not as good as they usually are this year. Still, we had one of the best films in a long time this time. The Shape of Water was like a definite absolute classic. Funnily followed by The Shape of Water in quality, would definitely be The Little Hours. I think that was just a funny, spectacular blast, and after that, I'd say A Perfect Day and You Never Really Were Here. The biggest disappointments were Ghost Stories and The Lodgers. Otherwise, everything was okay. But there wasn't much special going on. We want things to be much special. Oh well, guys, I am very tired, and I still have to shoot the I Hate Sundays episode for tonight. So I'm signing off. And after I get a proper amount of sleep, because I went into the festival this year right after I finished my bachelor thesis, and we partied really hard last night, I will get a proper amount of sleep. And then I'm going to start making lots and lots and lots of videos again. So there's a lot of shit to look forward to. Bye-bye. Oh, and tell me if you liked it with Fedor. And if we should include Fedor in more activities. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I'm not gonna walk out because I'm just gonna record the Sunday episode now. Oh yeah, you will see me when you see me.
Ich hab noch keinen Mock zu gehen, ich bleib ein bisschen länger. Ich hab noch keinen Mock zu gehen, wir kommen auf einen Nenner.
Watch out for the fappening. There's a lot of things to fap about here in this film. Look at Fedor.